and we are being recorded. So I'm going to get started now. Welcome back to the webinar, everybody. Thank you for coming. And in this lesson, I'm going to show you how you can really easily create a paper piecing file or a print and cut file by using a free coloring book image off of the internet. To get started, what you'll do is you'll open your Internet Explorer or whatever web browser you're using and go to google.com. When you get to google.com, start by typing in the search box just the simple words coloring book, and then if you want to narrow it down, type in something specific, and I'm going to type in Christmas tree for this demonstration, if I can spell it right. That was funny. I hope you're laughing. When you've typed in coloring book Christmas tree, press enter, and Google will start to look for items that fit your search. And then come right up here under the search box, and I'll direct my mouse to it. Right up here, and just click on images. When you click on images, you'll be presented with an assortment of items that matched your search terms. And you'll see that some of them are coloring book images, some of them are clip arts, they're kind of scattered. To narrow your results down, come right over here to the upper right and click on the little gear icon. When you click on the gear icon, it'll open a menu, and just go down right here and click on Advanced Search. In the Advanced Search window, your search terms are already in that box. Scroll down a little bit and change the colors in image to the selection of black and white. By default, it was set to any color, but you want to click on black and white to get true coloring book images. And then right under this, where it says type of image, click on any type and go down the menu and select line drawing. These are the only two items you need to change at this time. Once you've changed them, come down to the advanced search box and click on it one time. You'll then be presented with a better selection of terms that matched your search query. And of course, it's not foolproof. As well as Christmas trees, there are snowmen, there's a reindeer, there's some Christmas bells, and the further down you go on the page, the more varied these items will be. You come down to baby Jesus in the manger and Santa in a sleigh. There'll be all kinds of results mixed in with the Christmas trees. When you're looking at this page of images that Google has brought up, do not click on the images. When you click on one of these images, you will be taken directly to another website, and until you get there, you do not know if that's a safe website or not. This is one of the classic ways that the bad guys use to lure unsuspecting people to their website, and that's where you're going to end up with a nasty little virus that you maybe can't get rid of. So don't click on the image with your left mouse button. But as you are looking through here and you see an image that you might be interested in, point your mouse and just let the mouse hover. When the mouse is hovering, you'll see a bigger thumbnail or icon of the image that lets you see a little bit better what the image looks like. I'll point and hover at a couple of these just to demonstrate. As you're going through these search results, when you find an image that you want to use, and the image I chose is right here, point your mouse at the image and let the mouse hover and then right click only. Do not left click, only right click on the image. When you right click on the image, your right click menu will open. Go down the list, point at copy, and when you find it, click on it one time. That's all you have to do in the Google search results. Now you can come back to your fun time, and I'm sorry, I have to open my chat box. I'm sorry. Once you get into your fun time, I have this page open as a sample. I'll create a new page. When you're back in your fun time, come up to the top left to the edit menu. Click on it one time. Go down the list until you see paste, and click on paste one time. When you click on paste, a copy of the image will be placed in the lower left corner of your fun time page. This is a small image. I'm going to zoom in on it to show you better. When I zoom in, I hope you can see this. There's a lot of pixelation on the edges of this image, and that pixelation isn't going to vector well. So I need to improve the quality of this image. And in fun time, it's really easy to do. With the image still selected, go up to the top to the image menu. And remember, in fun time, the image menu is specific to images which are not vector shape. In fun time, the images that this menu refers to are like your JPEGs and your bitmaps and your PNG images. When you come up here to the image menu, click on it one time to open it, and scroll down until you see interpolation. Interpolation is just a fancy word that means improve the quality. Point your mouse at interpolation and this other little menu will open, and click one time on standard. When you click on standard, it'll open the resample image window, and by default the value is 2. I always leave that at 2. If I change the number higher, it will work faster, but it will not produce the same good quality. So leave it at 2 and click on OK. Now with your selection tool, click on it to make sure it's selected, and you'll know it's selected by the little selection handles that go around it. With it selected, even though it's redundant, go back to the image menu, and again select interpolation and standard. Leave the default at 2 and click on OK. And just to get nice clean lines, I'm going to do it one more time. Now I know that this is going to create a really big image on my fun time page, but I can resize it no problem just by clicking and dragging on the corner. If I zoom out to all to get everything on the screen, you can see the outline of my page is down here and my image is way up here. It's really big. But you can also see now that there's very little, if any, pixelation. There's a little bit of background noise, but FunTime will get rid of that. My concern was getting rid of the pixelation. Now that I've gotten rid of the pixelation, I'll point my mouse at this upper right selection handle until it turns to a diagonal arrow, and I will click, hold the mouse, and drag it back down onto the page. And now I have the size that I want to use. From here you can go to vectorizing this to make it a cutting file. With the image still selected, come over to the right side of your screen and click on one time on the Auto Vecto button. When this vectorization window opens, with these nice clean black and white coloring book images, you don't need to change any of these settings. You can leave them just the way they are. Click one time on the black wand and then click one time anywhere on the image. When you click on the image, it'll open the posterization window, and the default level is 2. 2 is perfect for a black and white image. It does not need to be changed. All you need to do is click on the OK button. You'll see the progress window, and voila, you have a vector image. Just click on the cancel button to close out that vectorization window. I'm going to switch into wireframe to show you better that the new tree on the right side is actually vectorized. And I know it's vector because when I switch in and out of wireframe, the fill color is removed and only the cutting lines are visible, but there is no change made to the raster image on the left. Let's see. Does anybody have any questions so far at this point? Lana, you asked if a change was saved for the future. I'm guessing that you meant the changes that were made in the Google search window. Those changes are not saved. You'll have to put them in each time. So each time you go to the Google search window and you're searching for images, you'll have to click on that little gear icon and put in the search options that I showed you. Are there any other quick questions before I continue? I'll wait just a moment. Okay, no questions are popping up just yet, so I'll go back to the lesson. I'm turning off wireframe, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit closer, and I hope you can see it on the screen, but the quality of this is absolutely fantastic. Even if I turn on construction points, you can see that there are not a lot of construction points. This is a nice clean file with nice round edges, and it'll cut perfectly just the way it is. But we don't want to make confetti by cutting all of these lines at once. We want to create either a paper piecing or a print and cut. And that's really easy to do. To make more room on the screen, I'm just going to delete the JPEG that we copy and pasted from Google. And I'm going to make this bigger to work on. And right away, looking at this design, I can see up here at the top that these little lines coming out of the star that were there to represent the radiating light, my personal preference, I don't want to cut those, so I need to get rid of them. And in this example, the easiest way to do that is to simply delete that outer piece. So I'll select only the outer piece, and to verify that only the outer piece is selected, I'll drag over to the side, and only that piece was drug over, so I know that only it is selected, and I'll press the delete key on my keyboard. But now I've lost my outline for this piece and I need to get it back. I don't want to outline the star. I want the star to be its own separate piece, but I still need a background piece for my tree. And the easiest way to get that is to select only the pieces of the tree, not these little circles for the ornaments. And the way to do that is to click directly on the edge of one of the pieces, press and hold the shift key on the keyboard, and then click on the very edge of the other pieces. And I can verify that only those pieces are selected by dragging them over to the side. To put them back where they were, I'll just click on my undo button, and that puts it back where it was. And now I can go up to my tools menu, and from the tools menu I will select outline, and that brings up my outline window. If I change the width in this thickness box and click one time on the word outline, I get a preview of what it's going to look like. And that's too thick for what I want. So all I have to do is highlight that number and change it, and click one time on outline, and I see a new preview. These lines give me the thickness that I'd like to have. So now I can click on the apply button, which is the little purple box with the yellow check mark on it. And that will apply the changes. And you'll notice that all of the overlapping lines that were created by outlining the individual pieces have now been welded together. I can select only that outline piece and move it over, and you can see that's the only new line that was created. And it did give it a default fill color of red, but I can easily change that by left clicking on my black color swatch. I'm reading a question in the text box. Lana asked, what happens if you can't get rid of all the pixelation? It is possible that you won't get rid of all the pixelation, but using interpolation, you should get rid of enough of the pixelation to get good results when you use the auto vectorize. There is the chance that you might be using a really tiny, really cruddy, very pixelated, low quality image. And if that happens, there's really not much you can do other than maybe take it into your Photoshop and try to improve it there. But generally, for about 90, maybe 95% of the coloring book images on Google, you can get results like this. If you don't get results with one image that you've chosen, go back to Google and look for maybe a better quality copy of the same image or a similar image that will meet your needs. I don't see any other questions. Okay, so once you have your file in this state, you actually have a paper piecing file. And to get it ready for cutting, you can drag these pieces away. Oh, I should have showed you. The pieces that look white on the screen when you do an auto vectorize will also have a white stroke color. And of course, a white stroke color is not visible on a white background. You can't really see it until you put it over something that has a darker color. When you come across these pieces, the easiest way to fix them, I'm just going to undo till I get all that back. I'm going to select all of the pieces by dragging a selection around them. I'm going to go over to my color palette and right click on the black swatch to make sure that all of the pieces have a dark stroke color that's visible if I move it onto a white background. There you see it now. So to do this as a paper piecing, you could one by one drag these pieces away from each other and put them on the page when you're ready to cut them. But in Fun Time, there's an easier way to do it. And we call that cut by color. And what happens is you'll assign different stroke colors to different pieces. For example, I'll select the outline of the tree and I'll give it a green fill and a green stroke color. And when I open my cutting control panel, I now have color swatches, and I can select a color swatch to tell Funtime which design I want to cut. But we'll need to do that for each of these pieces. I noticed in the cutting control panel my poor little star got left behind. So right away I'll select it and give it some color. Now keep in mind that Funtime does not see your fill color, it only sees your stroke color. The fill colors are only for your benefit, to give you an idea of what your object will look like if you cut it from those specific colors. So I might be sitting here looking at my tree and think, well, what color do I want to cut the star? What color paper do I want to use? So I might come over here and just click on different colors. And when I get to the yellow, I think, yes, I like it in yellow. So I'm going to leave it yellow. But the cutter can't see this yellow fill color, so I have to give it a yellow stroke color. And I can do that either by right clicking on the yellow color swatch, or I'll go to another piece and show you. On this smaller top of the tree, I can assign a light green color to that, and I have an option. I can click and hold the mouse directly on this little box at the top of the fill column, press my mouse, hold it down, and drag it over to the stroke box. And then click one time on that box, and now that stroke color has been changed. The stroke and the fill match. Even if I leave all of these items with no fill color, when I go into my cutting control panel, the program can still see the stroke colors that I've assigned, because that's what Funtime is working on, is the stroke colors. Like I said, the fill color is just for your benefit, to show you what your design might look like done in that color if you cut it from those colors of paper. Get this caught up. So one by one, you would select your pieces and give them a fill and a stroke color until all of the pieces were complete. Oh, and I just clicked on the wrong one. After you go through the steps of changing the colors for each of these, you're going to end up with a design that looks like this. And when you go into the cutting control panel, because I still have a raster image on my screen, this warning box is going to come up telling me that the image cannot be cut. It needs to be vectorized first. This is more of a reminder telling you that you need cut lines. If you don't want to see this message anymore, put a check mark in the Don't Show This warning and click on Continue. And your cutting control panel will open. And now you can see in this window, when I'm ready to cut, I'll put my dark green cardstock on the cutting mat and select the dark green. Ignore this piece on the right for now. That's something else I want to show you. But when I click on the dark green, I'll get the background piece for my tree, and I can cut that out of my green cardstock. Then when I click on the yellow swatch, it shows me my star that we'll cut, and I can select that and move it down here to the corner, put my yellow cardstock on the cutting mat and cut out my star. Then I can go to the next color, and I can see that it's going to cut the interior pieces of the tree, and just like the star, I can select those pieces and move them over down here, and I would follow these steps for each of the different colors that I've created on my Fun Time page. Now notice that with all of the selecting and moving pieces I did in the cutting control panel, when I click on return, everything is put back exactly like it was. The last thing I would like to show you, I created this piece to show you. When you're doing a paper piecing, sometimes it can be a little tricky to figure out where to put the pieces and line them up. And an easy way to rectify that, oops, let me show you this back here first. I selected, ungroup. I first selected the interior pieces of my tree, press and hold shift, and click on the other pieces, including the background, and drag those over. I'm going to turn off the fill color and zoom in real close. I want all of these pieces here to have the same stroke color. So I'm just going to drag it over and click on it. What I want to be different is I want these interior cuts to cut a dashed line instead of a solid line. So I select the piece and come over to my color palette and click on the dashed line. And I repeat that for each of those interior pieces. I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see it better. I know it's hard to see. I hope everyone can see the dashed lines now. Now when I cut this background piece out of a piece of dark green cardstock, the outline of the tree will cut in a solid line and it'll come off of the mat as one piece, but it will also cut a dashed line showing me where to place those interior pieces when I've cut them from the light green paper. I hope everybody's with me so far. I lost my chat window, I'm sorry. No questions yet. Okay. Does anybody have any questions at this point? Okay. I wanted to show you how to make this into a print and cut file. I'm going to undo the changes I've made to get my piece back where it was. I'm going to delete these other pieces. When you have your paper piecing file created with all of the colors that you want to use for it, it's real easy to change this into a print and cut file. Just one moment, I'm being sent a file. Lana, I've got your file. I'll look at it in just a moment. Once you have your paper piecing file created with all of the different colors, if you'd like to use it as a print and cut file, it's very, very easy to do. Drag a selection around your entire design and come back up to the image menu. And remember I said that this menu only relates to JPEG type files? Well, it does have one option in it that you can use on your vector design, and that option is convert to image. When you click on convert to image, it'll bring up a bitmap properties window where you can change a couple of the features. The first one is resolution, and for good printing, you want that to be at least 300. The default bits per pixel is 24, and that's a good setting to leave at it. The border width is just that. It's the white border that will be around your image. You can change it to any number you want, but I like the results I get with a border of 10. So I put 10 in both boxes and I click on OK. You'll see the progress bar go by pretty quickly, and now you'll see next to the original tree another tree. I'm going to click on wireframe. When I go to wireframe, you can see that the one on the left is vector and the one on the right is truly raster. It's the same equivalent of a JPEG image. Once you've got your JPEG selected, you can delete these cut lines if you don't want to use them or just move them aside. But bring your new image onto the page, and of course for print and cut, change your page size to 8.5 by 11. But we need cut lines for this tree. And the easiest way to get them is to select the very outline of the vector part of the image and move it right on top of the raster image, but it's going to go behind the image where you can't see them. So using your selection menu, I'm moving a toolbar, I'm sorry. With that cut line still selected, go over to your selection and point your mouse at the icon for closest position and click on it one time. And you see that that brought the cut lines up to the front. All you need to do now is get that cut line selected around the contour of the tree that'll be printed, and do the same thing for the star. You need to also bring that cut line to the front to be able to see it. I'll zoom in a little bit closer and I'll just align it up a little bit better. Once you have your cut lines aligned to the item that'll be printed and cut out, click away from your cut line to deselect it. And you don't want this black cut line to print. So now what you can do is just click directly in the middle of the image to select it and come back up top to your selection menu and now bring your printed image to the closest position. Now the cut lines won't be printed, but when you go to the cutting control panel, your gazelle will be able to see those cut lines. I've got windows following me around that I have to move, I'm sorry. So when you're ready to do your print and cut, remember to change your paper size. And then you'll have to come to your file menu and do a print setup. After you do the print setup, then you can add the crop marks. And you'll be ready to do your print and cut project. Now just a little tidbit on the side. When you save this WPC file by doing File, Save As, you'll be prompted with a window to select the location to save the file, and you'll be able to give it a file name. But when you save your WPC file, next time you open your WPC file, it will still have your cut lines and your new image that you created. Check for questions. Okay, I don't see any questions at this point. Does anybody have any questions specific to what I've shown you in this lesson? Okay. At this point, give me just a moment. I'm going to turn off the recorder.